Hey there, folks. Mr. Scoble here with a lesson on how to do an outline. First, I'd like you to imagine a large piece of chalk, and you break a piece of chalk into two separate pieces, and then you take that smaller piece and you break it down into a smaller piece, and you break it down until you can't break it down any farther, right? There is a moment where a chalk cannot break. This is an analogy I like to use when talking about outlines, is that the outline is like that piece of chalk where you have your essay, which is that first piece of chalk, and you have to break it down into smaller moments to organize your ideas. So what you have to this point are your pieces of evidence. You have your novel quote, you have your critical source quotes, and now you're going to organize those moments and pieces of evidence into your essay down the road. This is a skeleton. This is not the full essay so far. This is where you are organizing your thoughts, and for me to give feedback on how are these organized, but also does that piece of evidence really align and connect to your thesis statement. So what you see in front of you is an example outline, and what you would get after this video in the module is your own version of this, but not with pieces of evidence here. So you'll be able to replace your own piece of evidence. So it begins with your MLA header, and then you begin with your thesis. You're not giving me an introduction paragraph yet because you are not writing the introduction paragraph until the main body's done. You really can't introduce something when you haven't written the heart of it yet. So just give me your thesis. You've already had that. Then below that, you're see how the outline formats in the main ideas, the subpoints, and the details. Those are the things you have. First, you have your main idea. The main idea is recognized by a Roman numeral. Your subpoints are a large uppercase letter. Your details are numbers, and then below that are even tinier details with lowercase letters. So that's how you bring into a larger idea to a subpoint to a detail down to a smaller detail. The first main idea is going to be your body paragraph, so characterization paragraph. Provide that topic sentence right now. So if you have the general sense of this is going to be about characterization, provide that specific topic sentence below that. Once you then break down into smaller subpoints your paragraph, you're going to look at the characterization of the Clyde's funeral example, and below that is going to be the dancing mob. So A, B. And so those are the examples being discussed. When you break those down farther, you're going to provide the details to help prove those examples to that thesis. So underneath your subpoint, you have the details of your evidence, as well as the detail of the beginnings of an analysis. It's not a full analysis of this quote yet. Below that, you might have a second quote to help prove that, and below that, you have your analysis. So again, you have your larger main idea, your subpoint, your details below that. Below that is your second body paragraph, the metaphor paragraph. Now, you're not maybe going to have a metaphor paragraph. This is the example I'm using. So you have your metaphor paragraph, and then the example of the metaphor of the blue flies, and below that, the metaphor of the French revolutionaries. Then those pieces of evidence with the details below that. So again, it's breaking it down into smaller details until you can't go any farther when you get to the nitty-gritty evidence as well as the nitty-gritty analysis. After you've done that skeleton outline, restate your thesis and provide your works cited. You should have an easier time of a works cited because you have your digital resources. You can just copy and paste them in. You should be citing your sources. You should be doing an in-text citation format with the parenthetical citations in this part so that when you get to the fuller body paragraphs that you're going to write, it's going to be much easier for you down the road. You just have to remove the structure of the formatting. So this is the outline. This is a crucial step. Again, what it's really showing me is one, the organization of your ideas into larger body paragraphs, and two, does the evidence you have line up to that thesis? That's the main point of feedback. I have all too often said, choose a new piece of evidence in this step, and people don't listen to me, and they still have the same piece of evidence in their final research paper, and they don't do as well, right? If it's not in a piece of evidence that's effective now, it's not going to be in a piece of evidence that's effective later on. You're not going to fool me because I still recognize it as an ineffective piece of evidence. I come back to this. I said, did you change it? Did you grow? Did you find a new piece of evidence? Did you take my feedback? Some people do, which is great. So be like that person where they change their evidence. It is harder, right? But I'm pointing that out to you now because you're not going to have a successful paper down the road. So the next part will be a copy that you can make and fill in for your version of the outline. Let me know if you have any questions along the path. Take care.